Welcome to The Real Deal with Jason Silverman, the podcast dedicated to helping you build the business of your dreams and live the life you always hoped for, with valuable and fun tips and info to make your life easier and more fun. And now, here's your host, a man who sprinkles metal shavings on his breakfast cereal just for fun, Jason Silverman.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to The Real Deal with Jason Silverman. I'm your host, Jason Silverman, and I'm thrilled to share some time with you once again today. As you know, I am always on the hunt for interesting as well as super smart real deal guests, and I got to tell you, I am super pumped about today's show. I want to introduce my listeners to somebody who's truly been there and done that, and I'm excited to pick her brain for your benefit today. Now, for the folks who I work in any of my coaching programs, my mastermind groups, or through Powerful Words character development or all-star cheer sites, you know how much I focus on the importance of taking advantage of every possible opportunity for success, right? Well, the show is going to help us do just that in a way that you probably never even thought about. So, today it's going to be my honor and privilege to share an amazing resource with you. You're going to love today's guest. She's got a ton of valuable info about what I consider to be a super hot topic. It's going to help you boost your success and have fun while you're doing it. So I want you to strap yourself in. Today's show is going to be a blast. As I'm sure you already know, I'm committed to helping business owners just like you to become more successful, enjoy your career more, and in general, make life significantly more fun. Remember, folks, we only get one trip around this merry-go-round as far as we know. Let's make sure it's one heck of a ride, okay? Alrighty, boys and girls, it is now that time. I want you to stop surfing Facebook, put away your phone, your tablet, your dog, your cat, your boyfriend, your spouse, your pet, whatever, anything that could possibly distract you from today's show. You're about to get some great and immediately implementable information, and I don't want you to miss even a second. So, before we officially get going, let me give you a little bit of background about our guest today. Cathi Hargaden is an internationally acclaimed expert in the ancient art of Feng Shui. She's 20-plus years experience consulting and teaching and has worked with over 1,000 clients around the globe. Cathi's work has helped clients increase revenue, reduce stress, resolve conflicts, build health, and more. Does that sound good to anybody? Sounds good to me. She's the host of the Feng Shui Mastery Show podcast. Cathi's expertise is right for audiences in the health, wealth, business, and personal development arenas. And quite honestly, folks, if you're listening to this podcast, you're in the right place. Cathi's message of being aware of and modulating the energy of places and spaces we live and work in to assure health and good fortune is fresh and timely, and quite honestly needed in our industry, folks. Okay, what I want to do is bring Cathi on, and I can't wait to get some of these answers for you. Cathi, welcome to The Real Deal. I'm thrilled to have you.
Thank you very much, Jason, for having me today.
Oh, it's my pleasure. So do me a favor, before we get started, for those who haven't yet had the opportunity and pleasure of meeting you or hearing you speak or listening to your podcast, do me a favor, take a quick second, share your story with our listeners. You know, what are you passionate about? What makes you tick? Who is Cathi Hargaden?
Okay. Well, I'd like to start off by saying that I come from an inner city in the UK where there wasn't too much evidence of nature. And then I was shifted to the outside of that city where I saw an absolute huge shift in energy when I was surrounded by trees and flowers. I could actually see the difference between the students from the inner city and those from the outside of the city, that they had much more aspiration, inspiration, a lot more confidence. And so, that's my background. And because I've travelled all over the world, I started to see how places affected people. Now, I believe people affect places as well. So it's an interactive dynamic going on. But I've worked in 4 or 5 different countries. I've lived in the ghetto and I've lived in suburbia. So I have exposed myself to how environments impact upon us and what can we do to shift that energy and get our environments supporting us so that we can actually go forward, irregardless of where we live, that our own internal environments, both in our homes and in our businesses, and internal feng shui, that is our inner selves, how they can actually be synchronized so that, you don't have to be in the right place, but you can actually be in the right place within you and within your own internal environment.
Wild. Wild, wild. Oh, I'm excited.
Thanks.
I am very excited. All right, I want to dive in because I know your time is limited, but there are things I definitely want to be able to bring to our people. So, in a nutshell, if you would, and I know this is hard to do, but I'm going to task you with it anyway. What is Feng Shui? And why would it matter to an owner of, call it a cheer gym or a martial arts school or somebody like that?
Well, it's an excellent question, and whilst Feng Shui has its roots in the Chinese philosophy of the I Ching, which in a nutshell is all about change, that life is changing from second to second. And often if we don't shift ourselves as people and as individuals, as groups, then often we can experience things in a difficult way because we refuse to shift with the change. So it's a 4,000-year-old philosophy. However, having been all over the world, this is a universal principle about change, about who are we in relation to our environments. So some of the subjects are based on time, astrology. Some of them are based on the compass. They're based on some of the ancient sects like sacred geometry. And when I started studying this, I just thought there was just a little bit of knowledge to know. But it's taken me into the world of Islamic architecture, geometry, mathematics, all kinds of psychology, marketing, and it's absolutely fascinating. And the thing is that all the top corporations right across the world, they use these principles. Why? Well, let's be honest. The advertising and marketing world is a multi-billion industry, and they actually employ the power of advertising to all of us, all through the communal areas, in the big cities, in the small cities, right across the world. Why? Because whatever it is you're looking at is subliminally affecting you. So my way of advertising Feng Shui is, why not set up your own environment internally to have a subliminal effect on where you want to go in your life? What is it you want to see yourself being or going to? And so relating it back to your areas of business, whether it's a school or an after school kind of club, then you want people to come to your business, come to your teaching. And what is it that's going to attract people? Well, 99.9% of the time, it's going to be about how people feel. It's not what they're looking at, it's how is what they're looking at making them feel. So there's all kinds of reasons of why people would feel differently. Say, for example, if you're looking at a blue compared to a pink, how does that make you feel? If you're smelling eucalyptus compared to rose, how does that make you feel? Because when you smell something, the part of your brain that's smelling is directly linked to the emotional part of your brain. Colour is also affecting you all the time. Design, triangles, the circles, squares, these all have a subliminal effect upon you, which is why colour and design and not so much aroma, but how pictures come across on the billboards are affecting you and wanting you to buy something and not buy something. So the same way, if you're wanting people to attract people into your schools, it's essential that you understand this concept and start to create a feeling so that the children, the kids, the adults, the parents who are making decisions, they want to come back here. Why? Because they feel great. And it's not just by the people that are there, but what is around in the environment that makes them think, oh, I really like this place. So just to give you an example, you turn up to a foyer or an enrollment table and there's a plant and it's dying. I mean, the energy of that is, well, we don't care about the plant and we're not really going to care about your kids neither. It's a subliminal message, but nevertheless, it's made by all of us. We just don't internalize it or actually are conscious about it. And there's many other examples of that kind of, if that looks dead, then what kind of energy is there in the school or in the delivery of the product or service.
That's brilliant. What would you say, and this is something I'd love for people to be able to take away from this, an immediately actionable step. When we think about where people tend to enroll, normally there's some sort of front desk. And from my experience, I've been to gyms and schools where it almost feels like they're walking into a medical office.
Yeah.
Now, obviously, these are athletic facilities, so, they have the opportunity to sometimes not smell as good as they possibly could. Are there things that they should be looking at as far as, is there a better scent for the general public? Is there, is there a color? Is there a texture? Is there a material that they should either be going towards or staying against? Even just for something as simple as, the area where the parents come. And the reason I want to focus on that, Cathi, is because the parents are the ones with the credit cards.
Of course.
And, while their kid may be very excited, if the parent feels something that's off or not right, they're not going to join.
Okay. Right, well, I presume if you're walking into a place, then there's somebody behind a counter, possibly. But whoever is actually the front guy or gal at the front, behind them, inevitably, there's going to be a wall. What's on that wall is very, very important. And, you don't really want a big advert for Coke. We want to look at a picture that depicts the very essence of what it is you're offering. What kind of feeling are you offering? So would you want to be offering a picture of people who look very healthy, or a picture of nature which elevates people to want to say, yes, this is how I feel when I come here. I feel excited, I feel elevated, I feel inspired. So these pictures are very important, what's being fed back. And if you can make it possibly that they are pictures to do with nature, more importantly, because nature is implicit in all our cells. We don't really relate to man-made stuff very well. It's more nature, and in nature, the whole Feng Shui principles is based on the 5 elements. Now, they're symbolic representations which you would expect to find in a well-balanced environment. So if you could bring in a little bit of yellow, a little bit of blue, because yellow is earth, red is fire, blue is water, metal is metal, which is to do with the metal element, and the green is the wood. So here in your own reception area, you could have a beautiful plant that's growing really well. Even have a money plant. You can actually buy a money plant because you want to attract the money into the business. And you will see this time and time again in all the Asian and East Asian, Far East places of restaurants or any delivery of any service. They will have this money plant at the front. And then you can have the colours, maybe a little bit of red or orange, in a glass vase of flowers. So when you see a little bit of yellow and red or blue in the vase of flowers, it's really a well worth investment to have flowers, because when people see it, they feel uplifted. Now, I know they have a lot of allergies over there, but you have to compensate in some way or other to create a good energy. And I don't particularly recommend having artificial flowers because they tend to gain dust, and then dust starts to spread, and the next thing, the whole thing is looking very tired and dead. You want something that's fresh. With regard to essences, aromas, I actually started bringing them into the workplace, and there's always one person that doesn't like them. But, the banks actually use a very, very mild form of lemon or bergamot, and they use them in the banks, that aroma, to make the customers feel relaxed when they're giving all their money over to the bank. Do you see what I'm saying? So there's that. You could have a very mild smell of lemon. Not these artificial smells because they have got so many chemicals in them. But you can get the essence of a lemon burner or a lemon atomizer, which you can just spray temporarily over the front, the foyer. And, this lemon gives a sense of freshness. So they equate the smell of freshness to this particular business. And it's dynamic, it's awake. It's also giving some concern and care over to the potential customers. So a picture at the back there is really important. Some flowers, a money plant, an aroma of lemon. Make sure that, people's bags aren't all clustered in one area and it's cluttering up the flow. You want to make sure that you've got a flow. If you've got a mat where people actually wipe their feet at the front, make sure the name of the place is not on the mat, because what it's actually showing up energetically is that, people are wiping their feet on the name of the business's mat. And you don't want the name on the mat, And also, if this is a place that's an old building or anything's happened, maybe there's been any kind of unwanted, maybe there's been conflict or there's been an argument or something, then I would really take time out to look at, when there's no customers around, to cleanse this particular front area. Because if you think about it, there's so many people coming in and out, and everyone's carrying a certain bundle of emotional trauma around in their bodies and in their minds. So take the time out once a month, maybe once every 2 weeks, just to cleanse the area. You can cleanse it with some incense, you can cleanse it with some salt, cleanse it with rice. All these ingredients were once used to cleanse a home before anyone moved into it. But it's no different for companies neither. And as I said, the 5 elements, if you've got a little bit of each of those 5 elements in your environment, what it demonstrates is a sense of balance. There's a balance there. I mean, they're very powerful colours, but also when you bring them in to balance in the environment, it creates a sense of balance for the people coming in, so that it's not all one colour. It's not all people aren't feeling that what shall I say, that it's an extreme environment. It's all kind of overly martial art and very, very yang, but at the same time it's not too yin, which is, yin is very feminine and gentle and yang is very masculine, unless you want to promote that. But you have to, the very essence of martial arts is all about balance. And so, why not create a balance in the environment? Because if you're going into martial arts, it's all about, recognizing yang, recognizing yin situations, and creating a balance out of any situation in one's life. Does that answer the... It
really does. It's actually brilliant. There was so much there. Folks, what I want you to do at this point, before you do anything else, is go back and listen, probably 2 or 3 times, to exactly what Cathi talked about as far as your front desk area or your enrollment area, and make a little checklist as far as how many of these elements do we actually have in play, what does it look like, what does it smell like, what does it sound like, all of that, and then listen to the rest. But I think you've already given so much. At this point, it is time for our resource of the week. So, Cathi, tell me this: where can I actually send our listeners to find out more about you and how you go about helping folks just like them to succeed?
Okay, well, you didn't mention it, the podcast on www.fengshuimasteryshow.com. That has got quite a lot of interviews I've done, and it deals with all different kinds of areas. Feng Shui for relationships, Feng Shui. I've done a whole load of hotels that I actually stayed in all around the world, and why certain features are very prominent and very good Feng Shui. There's other resources there. I've done a whole review on books that you can use, that I would recommend, because I've read most of the books on Feng Shui. And then I've got a website called www.wealthyspaces.com, which is also accessing how you can contact me if you want to know more. Just to say that on the other website, you you can actually subscribe to my list on there, and you can get access to a free webinar, which is 5 steps to creating wealth, thanks to Feng Shui. So there's a whole 40, 50-minute webinar, maybe more actually, and I'm talking about 5 specific points that you can use to create a sense of wealth in your home, in your business, in your corporation, in anything where you are trying to invite people into a space.
I love this. I love this on so many levels. Cathi, let me ask one quick question. I like to end all my podcasts with, if you could give business owners just one solid piece of advice to either help their business or, more importantly, help them to live a better, more balanced life, what would that piece of advice be?
I think one of the things I'm doing is putting empty pots at the front entrance, just a couple, and one can have a plant in it, the other one empty, because in our kind of society that we live in today, Jason, including myself, we're all very full of information. We're full of everything. We're full up to the brim. And as in the Zen masters, one of their stories was about, I'm not going to go into it, but basically they're saying that the student turns up to learn more. But how can you learn more when you're already full to the brim? So the empty pot is an expression that you are empty to receive more, whether it's more wealth, more people, more help, more assistance, more great health. But an empty pot would actually be symbolic of saying to the universe, I've got one plant that's healthy in my pot on one side, but on the other side, it's empty because I'm open to receiving.
I love that. I will actually have an empty pot by my front door probably within the next hour. Fabulous. If you know anything about me, I'm an implementer, so that is perfect.
Oh, great to hear that. I love those people.
Cathi, thank you so much for joining me today. I know how busy your schedule is, and I appreciate you joining us to share your wisdom. Thank you so much.
Thanks very much for having me. Thank you.
Folks, that is all the time we've got for today. Thanks for tuning into The Real Deal with Jason Silverman. For more info about private coaching or to see if you'd benefit from one of our mastermind groups, visit me over at www.jasonmsilverman.com. I look forward to helping you achieve the success that you truly deserve. Until next time, let me leave you with this. Get out there and be the real deal. Set a goal, make a plan, work like hell towards it, and achieve the success that's waiting for you. Now's the time. Get out there and make it happen, people. Go get 'em. This has been Jason Silverman, and I hope you have a spectacular week.
You've been listening to The Real Deal with Jason Silverman. To access the great resources mentioned in the show and for information on coaching and mastermind group opportunities with Jason, please visit jasonmsilverman.com.